Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Four Continental Podcast. Today it's the usual me and Singpak. Today we're gonna talk about the game that we played earlier today. So let's start off with the USA and Australia game. Personally, I don't really know what to say about the game because I honestly expected Australia to do much better than they did. But to be like honestly, USA the first goal they scored was an own goal, and the second one they scored was bit of a scrappy goal perhaps. So me, I definitely it was a shock to see Australia conceding two against USA, considering how well they defended against the top like a talented team like Turkey. Uh, looking at their defense, Suter and Burgess, and I don't really understand Australian tactics since they decided to uh, since decided to bench Iran Kunda and Metcalf. Basically, the first game goal scorers, and no wonder they weren't really much of a threat up front. And how in the second half, Australia were a much better team, but USA defended quite well, and yeah, they couldn't really able to score on them. I was hoping for a good game, but yeah, it seemed to be one-sided for the US.
Right, right. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. It was kind of strange to see like Rankuna being benched specifically after the great performance he had. While we saw like the likes of Pile and Lecky starting. I mean, I don't know if y'all know, but Pile is not popular amongst the Australian like fans and stuff. Does seem to be quite average, and the fact that he was starting the game was kind of crazy in my opinion. And yeah, so talking about the USA side, I mean, I think USA were solid in the first half, but I think for second half they were looking quite sloppy actually. And like we have said, the ones they started looking sloppy, then Australia did kind of have the momentum. But I mean, I guess we can kind of still go like soft on USA today. I mean, they didn't have their star player Pulisic today, so it was kind of that. But yeah, I mean, and one thing I've noticed is for Jordan Boss, he's like one of the like the most promising talent we have seen from Australia in a while. I don't know if y'all know, like he had a great season in Feyenoord. But yeah, I mean, when he plays like left wing back, it's kind of confusing because I think we don't really see the best of him. I mean, it's kind of obvious that he probably performs better further up the pitch.
Yeah, for sure. Considering USA were missing Pulisic as well, and even without him, they managed to put two past Australia. Yeah, this USA team will definitely be a threat for who they face in the round of 32. Let's move to the
Wait,
Scotland
wait.
and okay.
Before we kind of
Yeah,
move on,
yeah.
I just want to ask you a question. Like, do you think it was I mean, do you think it was just more like the Turkey? I mean, obviously we're going to talk about the Turkey game later, but do you think it was more because of the fact that it was Turkey where the Australia defense kind of shined a lot? Do you think that was the kind of case?
Yeah, I mean, against Turkey, Australia, we saw like they were really solid at the back. Australia, they weren't really allowing any spaces, and like they were really compact. Even small through passes or over the crosses, nothing was getting past them. So considering that, the same defense, basically, I don't think there were any changes in the defense. So I was expecting quite more of a same thing from Australia. But yeah, the USA team really found some good spaces between the defense, which they took advantage of, and yeah, forced Australians to make mistakes, which led to the USA scoring.
Yeah, yeah,
Australia definitely. It was a kind of a shocker to see Australia defend like this.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, now we can move on
Like,
to the next game.
yeah, so to the Morocco versus Scotland game. Obviously, to start off, Morocco, I believe, scored in the opening 2 minutes. Brahim Diaz and Saibari once again combining to score the goal. But I believe throughout the whole game, Scotland really did not have any like good chances to score as much. Morocco still had quite a few chances to expand their lead, which they could not. But yeah, they held off Scotland really well. I believe everyone had a good game in the Moroccan team. Uh, so yeah, speaking of Scotland, most of their fans on social media are talking about a penalty decision that was not given. But I personally believe that was really not a penalty because there was not much, there was not enough contact for it to be a penalty. As we saw back in the France versus the France game, similarly, I don't think there was enough contact between the Scotland and Moroccan defender that it would convince the referee to give it a pen. So there was some check going on, but there was really no foul at that time. But yeah, if we talk about the game and like overall, Scotland performed like really bad. But I was kind of expected because against even Haiti, Scotland were kind of like couldn't really score against them. The goal they scored was basically a deflection, and if it weren't for that, the score would have basically ended 0-0. So yeah, I was expecting that kind of performance from Scotland, but Morocco really performed exactly like how I expected. And though I did expect them to score a couple of more goals, but at the end of the day, they get the win, and yeah, they're now I believe second at the table because yeah, Brazil scored more goals, so yeah, they're on the top at the moment.
Right, right. So I actually kind of want to ask you because obviously from the first game for Morocco, the arguably the star player was Buhari, but I want to ask you like, what do you think of his performance in this game, though?
To be fair, Buadi, yeah, as we saw in the opening game against Brazil, he was definitely, he really kept them on their toes. So yeah, and everyone was expecting him to have a good game again, since it's comparatively a much weaker Scotland team than Brazil. So yeah, Buadi actually did well because he didn't really lose much of the ball. Kept, yeah, he expected exactly like everyone would expect him to perform, and also considering that almost every major football team are like after him to sign him. So yeah, he definitely has this World Cup stage to prove his talent, and yeah, and if he keeps this on, there's no doubt that Morocco will, yeah, he will sign for a top team in either the Premier League or La Liga. Yeah, it's definitely the future is very bright for him.
Right, right. I'm kind of excited to see how his career pans out. I mean, at the end of the day, I think he's only like 18 years old. So, and with that, I think Saiberi has scored like two goals in the both matches now for Morocco. So, again, that's a quite of an achievement for him as well.
Yeah, for sure. And considering he signed for Bayern Munich, so this will definitely be a tough challenge for Harry Kane. Considering Saibari has now scored in both the opening games and not like some fluke goals, but actually like really good goals. So yeah, if Harry Kane's performance drops in some way, I definitely see Saibari playing over him at Bayern, and he definitely won't be bad either.
Yeah, yeah,
So
right,
yeah,
right. I mean, Harry Kane is
yeah,
only going to get older, and I think Saiberi, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's only like 24 years old. So, he is one of the more like future buys. So, yeah.
yeah, for sure. Saibari is 25. So yeah, the future is definitely bright for him ahead. Let's move on to the Brazil and Haiti game. So, what do you think? Finally, Brazil.
Yeah, so I'm going to start off here. I think for the first half, I think like it was kind of like a domination from Brazil. I mean, we kind of saw like okay, oh yeah, first off, let's start off with the fact I was happy that Igor Thiago was benched. I mean, we kind of agreed that after that shouldn't have been starting, and we saw Cunha start over. Now it was kind of interesting because even though he was the one who scored the two goals, right? Throughout the first half, we did kind of see him like play like a slightly deeper in the sense like he wasn't really like I mean, it was kind of expected. And then like he was in the build-up plays and stuff as well. And Rafinha, he got injured as well. And I think like he wasn't actually playing that terrible in my opinion. Yeah, let's just get this straight. What do you think of Rafinha performance prior to getting injured? I thought he was all right. I mean, he did kind of have an offside goal, I think.
Yeah, Rafinha in the 40 minutes that he played, I think he was definitely like not at his very best because he did miss some good chances. So yeah, and even if you look at his stats, like he attempted like around three dribbles, which unfortunately none of them were successful. Only one accurate out of and only one accurate cross at the total of five. So and he was offside twice the time. So yeah, it definitely says a lot about his performance, considering how we see him in Barca. He definitely underperformed in this game, and hopefully the injury he has is not that yeah. So definitely not the game we would expect from Rafinha.
Yeah, yeah, right, right. So going back to what I was saying about Cunha is that even though I do think that if it is the contest between him and Igor Thiago, he should continue starting. But I think the best like position for Cunha would still be the number 10. I mean, like I was saying, like I think he does kind of play more deeper in the sense. I really think the number 10 role would suit him the most because I mean, Paqueta, he did have a beautiful assist. But I think for the most of the game, he was kind of like average. I mean, obviously the assist he did was beautiful. But yeah, then again, we kind of have to look at the whole game. I do think that I do back the fact that Cunha can probably provide more. So and yeah, for the second half, I think that I think if I'm like for the second half, I think kind of like they start like trying a different formation. And yeah, I think they were just like bringing on other players and stuff. I mean, obviously we saw Andrick. I was happy that he finally did play, and yeah, he had an offside goal. He was quite unlucky in that. And Ryan, I think he also had like a few great chances in my opinion. So it was kind of refreshing to see like other players play though. But I do think Heidi stepped it up in second half as well. I mean, when the second half started, I think like they did actually have a few chances as well. And Alisson made a I think he made like three saves, but he had a really great save on the header.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, speaking of Cunha, I think he only had like two shots in this game, and both of them were goals. So definitely says a lot. Even with Manu, he's in a uh, good form. And overall, the Brazil team really stepped up from their previous game against Morocco. But still, after this performance, I would say at the end of the day, it's still Haiti, and they have to face like much stronger opponents up ahead than Haiti. So yeah, I'm really expecting them to keep this keep this going on, and I really hope they can reach far in this tournament. But I don't really see them winning it. But I think they're definitely gonna be around round of 16 or maybe even quarter finalists. But on the other side, Haiti in the second half, they did kind of step up, and Allison has, of course, the keeper he is, made some good saves, especially the last one, which was a free kick, I believe, or a corner. He saved a really good header. So yeah, everyone basically had a great game. The talk about the Brazilian midfield from the last game, they really stepped up. Paqueta had an assist. Casemiro had an okay game. Not really something special, but yeah, yeah, he
Yeah,
was good. And similar with Guimaraes. All of them were quite better than the previous game. Yeah, this is definitely a positive step for Brazil, and hopefully they can keep this performance in the upcoming games.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
And before, I mean, I think now officially Heidi is eliminated, but I still want to like respect the fact that I think for both games they played, they weren't like defensive at all whatsoever. And I mean that for like both games, I think they were like still like trying to go like attacking as well, even though they might not have like actually created many chances and stuff, but they weren't like playing like super defensive. So I did kind of respect that. And And yeah, also I'm just like you have said. I mean, it was at the end of the day for Brazil. I mean, Haiti should have been a must win anyway. So it will be kind of interesting to actually see them against bigger teams. Because then again, like even though they were kind of underwhelming against Morocco, but Morocco I do think are a really good team. So yeah, and also one last thing is that it's we are finally seeing Vinicius like play good for Brazil. I mean, for years straight, I mean he was people always pointed out that he was quite average for Brazil. But I do think the main factor for why he's finally performing is the fact that he's playing under Ancelotti. I mean, he literally played under him in Real Madrid, so I think that helped him a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And Vinicius, he's been a part of a lot of hate towards Brazil. He's really not been doing that well. So yeah, this is definitely great to see him step up. And secondly, speaking of Haiti, yeah, you have to respect them for not really being really defensive like we saw with Curacao and Cape Verde. Curacao still managed to score a goal, but yeah, I mean Cape Verde, they weren't really like completely at the bell. They still managed to have team like Scotland on their toes. They managed to get some shots on goal. So yeah, hopefully in the upcoming World Cup they can improve further and maybe even get past the group stage. To be honest.
Right, right.
Yeah. So let's move towards the Turkey versus Paraguay game. Very surprising result at the end.
You want to start off for this actually?
And okay, yeah. So Turkey, similar in their first game against Australia. Similarly, in the game against Paraguay too, they had a lot of chances. They had a lot of shots, but at the end they could not really convert them. And Paraguay, in the opening 5 to 10 minutes, they score a wonderful goal. Um, and yeah, the rest they basically defended really well. And even I have to give like a shout out to the Paraguayan keeper. He made some really good saves as well from the Turkey shots. I really don't know what's going on with this Turkey team, considering the talents they have. These are the Güler, Çalhanoğlu, Akhtar Koglu. Although these players do well in their club football, but I just don't really understand what's not really working for them in the national team, because everyone, at least I expected Turkey to top this group comfortably, but yeah, they're like the second team to get knocked out right after Haiti. Yeah, it's definitely a big blow for them considering how the hype was around them. Many people considered them as dark horses, but yeah, it's overall really disappointing from Turkey. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right, right. So, in my opinion, when I was watching this game, I really just felt like I was watching another Turkey versus Australia game back at it again. I mean, it was really the same thing. Like, I don't know what is up with Turkey, but they really just seem to struggle to break through defenses. Or where they do, right? The shots are just like, the chances are just not that good. Like, I don't know what's up with them. Like, Paraguay, the first game we saw with USA, their defense was completely looking like a mess. But then for this game, it would seem like, oh, their defense was actually quite solid and stuff. And yeah, like I was saying, like it was again. I think Paraguay only like had a momentum for like the first like 10 minutes, and after that, it just felt like Turkey had the ball for the whole like game at this point. Like even for the second half thing, like the most of the time, just Turkey had the ball. It just was kind of painful to watch. It's kind of crazy, like how you mentioned that Turkey has like so much talent. I mean, they literally have a player from Real Madrid. They have a player from Juventus. They have like Hakan, who is known to have like quite consistent and great seasons at Inter, but they just seem to struggle a lot. And first, let's get this straight. I mean, Koglu, he was average in the first game. He was even more average in this game, in my opinion. And even Yildiz, like he was at the end of the day, he was just all right, in my opinion, because they just really kind of struggled. And I think what doesn't really help them in the sense that they were like quite confident before the World Cup as well. Like how the Guler before the Australia game, he was kind of like talking a lot. So right now they are just kind of a joke at this point, which is kind of sad to see.
yeah, it's really like hurt me personally to see Turkey performing like this, and yeah, I agree with the part that they played a similar game against Australia. the amount of shots and the amount of possession that they had, yet still they didn't really manage to score any goals. But yeah, as I said, these the players they have performed really well for their clubs, but when they come together and it's time to play for the country, that's where they really lack because yeah, as we saw in the games, everyone expected them to do well, but yeah, everyone will be quite disappointed. The fans around the world, and even especially the fans in Turkey, considering when they were like coming for the World Cup, the amount of support they got of people going with the team was, I believe, all the way to the airport. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah, yeah, that
definitely
video.
very, yeah, it's
Do
now
you did
being
you see
used
the
for
video, right?
memes. Yeah, it's now
Yeah,
being
that
used
video
for
is a whole
memes.
meme now.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely heartbreaking for them. And yes, they're like,
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it is like, yeah, like you have said. I mean, on a serious note, it is kind of sad because like Turkey, they got like the most passionate fans you'll ever see, and every tournament we kind of go to, we kind of like expect them to like do quite well as well. I mean, like the atmosphere that fans produce is great, but then when every tournament they just kind of disappoint like that, especially this one, I really think they had like no excuses as well. Like the players were good. I mean, like I mean, as an individual level, they were good. Like they didn't even have like the hardest group in my opinion, and yet they were like producing performances like this. The team just only have themselves to blame. So yeah, it's just kind of sad to see. And when they lost the game, I didn't even realize that they were knocked out of the group stage immediately. Like I only realized 5 minutes later. Like that's how bad it was.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, as I said, there was no excuse for them. Because if you say that the other teams played like real defensive, they're obviously gonna play defensive because if you compare the level of every team here with Turkey, Turkey are like way ahead in their like if you look at their league, if you look at their players, if you look at their infrastructure, I mean, it's certainly better than Paraguay and Australia. Even if we argue it's not better than the US, but even if you play against such team, you would at least have it in mind that they're gonna park the best against us. What like really matters how you try to break it. But yeah, unfortunately, nothing really worked for them, and here they are, knocked out of the tournament at the very early stage. So yeah, some really interesting games being played uh, tonight. We already did Sweden versus Holland, so let's just skip this one and move to the other games. Starting off with Germany and Ivory Coast. So how do you think this one's gonna go?
Right, right. So Germany, Ivory Coast. Wow, this is the game I'm actually quite excited for. I mean, we have seen Germany in the first game. Our questions was only like how good they were actually going to be, and I mean, it was against Curacao, but I do think they were looking quite solid. Maybe the defense was like not the best, but the attack was like definitely no. There was like no doubts on that. And Ivory Coast going into the this World Cup, they were already the dark horses, and and obviously we saw it with the game. I mean, Diomande was great. They were like playing good football. It was an exciting match. So now I think going into this match, I do think Germany will be favorites, but I'm actually going to go for a 2-2 draw between both of them because I think like Ivory Coast they have shown like the talents in like attack, which I do think will be kind of lethal against the defense of Germany because it's not the best. So I do actually think it will be a close game. So I'm going for a 2-2 draw here.
Yeah, Germany in the first game, obviously it was against Curacao, a very weak team, and yeah, they managed to put six past them. And yeah, speaking of Germany in this game, Ivory Coast, everyone's gonna have their eyes set on this game. Even the scouts, you can say, like players like Yan Diomande, Amad Diallo, Nicolas Pepe. Yeah, so it's definitely a really great game to see because you're gonna say this game basically decides how good Germany actually are because everyone could probably score a lot of goals against Curacao, but up against a tough team, as we've seen in the previous editions, Germany has struggled. So I wouldn't really be surprised if Ivory Coast win this one. But yeah, I definitely see this game as a high scoring game. So I'm gonna say a 3-2 win for Ivory Coast here.
Ooh,
That's
you're actually backing Ivory Coast for a win. That's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I
So
mean,
yeah,
Ivory Coast, they did. I mean, like the game with Ecuador, I do think it was quite close as well for both. I mean, but yeah, we will see.
yeah. I mean, if we kind of look at the first game of Germany, I think their defense looked a bit shaky, and Ivory Coast have really strong attack as compared to Curacao, obviously. So yeah, I think there definitely will be goals from both sides.
Right, right.
Yeah, so let's move to the second game, being Ecuador and Curacao. So what do you think?
Yeah, so personally, I'm really hoping Curacao scores one goal because, I mean, I think for this nation, I think the fact that I've made it to the World Cup is already quite impressive. But yeah, going into this game, I do think Ecuador will be quite hungry for a win now. I mean, they only like kind of narrowly lost their last game. I mean, it was like a late game winner. Like they lost through a late game winner as well. So again, we in the first half, like a lot of people were calling like Hincapié as a laughing stock. I mean, after the game, a lot of people were like clowning on him, but I do think he was like actually showing him to be quite versatile until the second half. So yeah, I mean, do think the talent is there. The only problem is again the attack. I mean, Valencia is old, and Yabao, like the other players, they were kind of like they weren't like clinical enough. They were like missing shots and stuff. But yeah, I do actually back Ecuador for a win here, so I'm actually gonna go for a 2-1 win for them.
Yeah, so speaking about Ecuador in the first game, they had quite a few chances in against Ivory Coast. So yeah, and as you expect, Ener Valencia obviously has become old. He's not the same player as he was. So it's definitely gonna be excited to see how they do against Curacao because I'm expecting them to score at least like 4 goals if they really wanna go ahead and have a chance at qualifying because even if you finish at third place, you I believe you would need at least 3-4 points to go to the round of 32 because not all third place teams go to the next stage. Only the top eight go. So four third place team will still get eliminated. So I'm expecting a high scoring game here from Ecuador. They got really solid defense and midfield. They got good players in the attack as well. I'm gonna say 4-0 to Ecuador here.
Wow, that's bold actually, 4-0. I mean, yeah, I do back Ecuador, but with their attack, I wouldn't be backing them to score that many goals. But yeah, okay, so let's move on to the next
Yeah, hold
game,
on to that.
which I
Yeah,
think is Tunisia versus
Tunisia.
Japan.
Okay, yeah. So obviously, the first game, Japan really strong against the team like Holland. If you even, I mean, if you look at the height difference between both the teams, never in my like dreams you can imagine that Japan would score a header over the tall defense of Holland. But we saw in the last minute of the game, Japan did the unthinkable. Well, it wasn't much of a surprise that they drew with Holland because they often do really well against high ranked teams. We look at previous World Cup. I think they knocked out Germany in the previous World Cup, I'm
Yeah,
not
that
sure.
was one of
They
the
yeah
craziest moments.
yeah
Remember,
yeah.
like
So
the goal that was almost gonna, it was like almost out, but it was just like capped in by a little bit.
yeah. It was
Yeah, that was crazy
literally
moment.
just a bit on the line, and the rest of the ball was out. So yeah, that was a crazy moment. And yeah, Japan obviously a very strong side. Tunisia obviously lost 5-1 in their opening game against Sweden, but I think since they changed their coach, this is the same coach that led Saudi Arabia to a victory against Argentina, and I believe
Hmm.
Tunisia has the players that can potentially make an upset. So yeah, it's definitely a really interesting game to watch. So I'm gonna say that Tunisia actually, oh man, it's really actually tough to predict. I'm gonna
Hmm.
say
Are you
Japan
going
wins
for
this.
Tunisia win?
I'm gonna actually go for a draw here because I
Draw.
think that yeah, I think Tunisia obviously from the mistakes in their first game in their defense, I think they're gonna really work on that. And as we saw, the other team Paraguay, like they how weak they were in the attack and the defense against USA, they really did better against Turkey. So I think I won't really be surprised if Tunisia makes a similar upset, but I'm going for a 1-1 draw here. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, right, right. So I did kind of agree with what you were saying in the sense that I think Tunisia obviously won't like have a stinker game again because I do think like the team so far have been like kind of stepping up in the second games after like being kind of average in the first, except Qatar, of course. I mean, they were horrible, but
Yeah,
yeah. So going in, I mean, for the first game for Tunisia, I think their tactic a lot was just like kind of spamming crosses and like relying on Hannibal to create chances, which I don't think were kind of working that effectively. But yeah, like you were saying, they have a new manager now, so. And Japan, I mean, I think that it should be a win game for Japan because the talent they have in their team is kind of undeniable. I mean, the literary striker Ueda, he had a great season at the Dutch league, I believe. And then we also kind of saw like the impact of the substitution on the Netherlands game as well for them. But yeah, for me, I would still back win for Japan, but I do think it will be a close game. I do think like Japan will just win by a little bit. And so that's why I'm actually going to go for a 1-0 win for Japan here.
yes. I mean, it's definitely possible considering Japan. I think if I'm not wrong, Japan actually made 100-year a plan to win the World Cup, but as you know, as every World Cup comes, they shorten it to they start off with 100 years and they shorten it to 50. And I'm not sure where it is now, but I think it was at 2050 before this World Cup or something, 2038 or
Mm.
2050 something before this World Cup. And if they do well in this World Cup and go ahead, I like I'm kind of certain that even maybe in the next World Cup they may be the finalists. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
the way the Japan is improving, I have no doubts that it won't be obviously crazy if they win the game by big margin, but I'm really hoping Tunisia to really do well in the group and to make things exciting in the group. So yeah,
Right,
let's
right.
move to the yeah.
I would actually hope for Japan to do good in this game, really, because, I mean, we obviously kind of have seen that they are like group stage monsters, but I think like in the knockout stages, they haven't really proven themselves. And for this World Cup, I really want to see them progress to that and actually like shock for the knockout stages as well. That's my goal for them, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very possible for them to actually move further into the knockout stages, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, let's move to the final game of tomorrow, which will be Spain versus Saudi Arabia. So yeah, a really exciting game, perhaps. What do you think of the yeah? How do you think the game will go?
Right, right. So, I mean, this game kind of has to be a must win for Spain. I mean, first game, I mean, all kind of saw they were very disappointing. I mean, it was literally I was literally one of the most shocking games. Like they were just looking quite uninspired, and the attack without the lack, without the a proper like number nine, Oyarzabal and Ferran Torres, they were just not doing it for them. I mean, they were just kind of sabotaging, in my opinion. So going into this game with the Saudi Arabia, they were kind of shocking Uruguay as well because in that game I do still think Uruguay were kind of like the better team. But yeah, I mean that's how it goes. So for this game, I do think Spain will bounce back though. So that's why I'm backing a 2-new win for Spain because I think with Yamal and Nico Williams coming back, I do think it will be a more different scenario for them. I mean, I am aware that Yamal did play, like he did like came on as a substitute for the first game, but I think like playing the full game starting, I do think it will be more different.
Yeah, Spain in the first game obviously drew against Cape Verde. Um, Props to their defense and specifically their goalkeeper being 40 years old and still making some crucial saves. And yeah, as we all talked about the game in one of our previous episodes, that Spain were more like, they were more paying attention to the possession rather than scoring goals. Obviously, Ferran Torres or Oyarzabal didn't really have a great game up front. And as we saw, as soon as Lamine Yamal specifically was subbed in, the scenario literally changed. Like they were much more attacking, but they still could not really get a big breakthrough. But the positive is that they were attacking and creating more chances. So in this game, Saudi Arabia, I would say they actually did well against Uruguay, but their manager kind of killed the game when Saudi scored the goal, and they basically just went into the defense. I think this wasn't the thing they should have done. They should have kept Uruguay on their toes and tried to score more, and so eventually tried to win the game. But no, they decide to park the bus and allow Uruguay to make more attacks at them. As we saw at the end, obviously Uruguay did manage to get an equalizer, but I think it shouldn't have happened if Saudi Arabia were playing their yeah, like how they started. So in this game specifically, it's gonna be a really tough one. I think it's gonna be a really close game, and once again, I wouldn't be surprised if Saudi Arabia wins here, but Spain coming here into as favorites. Yeah, they definitely need to step it up, or else they will be knocked out as well. I believe. Uh, the last team the last game they play is Uruguay, which is definitely not an easy game as well. So this is the game where they can prove themselves and try to win the game and proceed to the next round. So I think the score will be 1-1 for 1-1 here, but maybe it's just Spain just scores in the dying minutes to make it 2-1. But I really see this game being a draw as well.
Interesting. I mean, obviously, like yeah, I agree with what you said. I mean, we did kind of talk about in the that game the how like Saudis parking the bus kind of killed the game earlier, but like I was saying, let's going into this game, I do think I might be slightly biased here, but I do think like Spain will actually kind of like turn it up for real because I think that the first game was kind of unacceptable. So in my opinion, I really do think they will step it up. But if we are just going by based off the first game though, the how they played, then yeah, definitely I can see a draw as well. Like if they just continue that, they can definitely draw or even like might even somehow lose. But yeah, a draw is definitely possible as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no question about the Spain's their attack, their midfield, their defense. I'm still not really convinced from their defense. Like they're not really like top notch. I would say Cubarsi is there obviously, but this is the World Cup. This is obviously his first one, and yeah, it's definitely a really tough game in Spain. With the expectations both Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams have on their shoulders. Like if we look at their Euros performance, the whole of Spain and their fans worldwide will expect them to step it up. But I think even with their attacking, they will like struggle to score a goal because the Saudi's defense, Abdul Hamid, they got in the back. He's been really crucial for them. So and plus the Saudi defenders are quite tall. So I don't really think they get much from like the headers. They must work their they must go through by their short passes because I don't think Oyarzabal is tall enough to make a header over the Saudis defense. But yeah, it's a do or die game here for Spain, and it's really exciting to see how they play and they see if they actually start uh, Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal in this game. Although they should have to, but you never know. It's De La Fuente and his tactics. So I won't really be surprised if one of them is benched. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it will be quite interesting to see how this game go. I mean, I think we kind of agree that the Spain performance, like the expectation can vary a lot. I mean, it really just depends on how it goes really. And I'm also kind of interested to see like if Olmo will start the game for the next game. Because obviously we do kind of know that Olmo is like usually the best players to like break through these low blocks. And like you have said, like Saudi has like very good defense. So yeah, I do kind of wonder if they'll like kind of utilize that for to like break like these kind of defenses. So yeah.
yeah, for sure. And interesting one to watch. Perhaps all the games being played tonight will be quite interesting and do or dies for most of the teams here. So yeah, it will be really exciting to see how these teams play. And yeah, with that, we have to say goodbye to the episode. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any suggestions, don't forget to write them down in the comment section. And yeah, this is it for today, and we'll see you tomorrow after the games.
Yeah, catch you on the next episode. Bye.